Is Barack Obama a Muslim?
I don't know. Does it matter?
You don't know. Here we go again. Here we go. What do you mean you don't know? He's a Christian.
Let me answer this. If he's a Christian, I certainly don't like the brand of Christianity he went to in Chicago for 20 years.
Well, wait a minute. Well, that's
Wright.
one of the. Now, you've just given me two answers. The first one is I don't know if he's a Christian. He might be a Muslim. And then you switch over. You don't like what you see as a two-left African-American church. So which is it? Is he an African-American Christian, or is he maybe a Muslim? Which is it?
I don't think he has a grasp on how serious this could be. He doesn't seem to have it, know what the details are and what we want and what we need as a country.
I believe that Barack Obama's religious beliefs do govern his foreign policy.
And what are his religious beliefs?
I believe that he is a Muslim.
You do?
Yes.
How many of you believe that here?
How many believe?
Wow. You believe he's a Muslim?
Yes. I think his religious belief is liberalism. He believes in his political policies more than any principle of religion.
I think he's Muslim sympathetic. I don't know that he's a practicing Muslim.
His religious belief is liberalism, and you know that's the most intolerant religion of all. There's no room for wiggle in there.
I do think it's quite possible he is Muslim, even though he says he is Christian. But I think that this type of rhetoric, he's waffling on both sides.
But let's focus on his presidential, on how he communicates when it comes to foreign policy and his policies. Shouldn't we be backing the president? Isn't that the loyal thing to do?
He is Neville Chamberlain in 1939. He is an appeaser, and he will lead us down a path to destruction if we're not careful.
He gives textbook answers.
So why would a room full of Iowa Republicans think the president's really a Muslim? Well, with congressmen in Iowa like Republican Steve King.
In the business of seeking to embarrass the administration into enforcing the law, particularly with regard to immigration. He won't do that. You know, somebody... He's a Marxist. He's a Muslim Marxist. Well, he's at least a Marxist, and he surely understands the Muslim culture. He surely does. That's where he grew up with. That's what his culture. He doesn't have an American experience. No. He does not have an American experience. He didn't grow up in America.
But Congressman, I just want to go back to that tape we just showed. I'm not sure you had good enough audio to hear every word of it, but you lived it. You were in a constituents meeting, and one of your constituents said, you know, he doesn't have American experience. You said, this is what you said about the President of the United States. He doesn't have an American experience. He does not have an American experience. And the constituent then said to you, he didn't grow up in America. Congressman, where did Barack Obama grow up?
Well, by his own reports, he spent a lot of his early formative years in Indonesia.
Now, do you have any doubt about whether he is a Christian?
You know, I think that is up to the president, but I will tell you that I would not present him as anything other than that. It's his religion. That's what he said. In fact, when he gave his speech in Cairo last year,
do you believe
he
he's
told
a Christian?
the Muslim
do you
crowd
believe
that he's
a Christian, Congressman?
I take him at his word.
It doesn't make any difference to me at all as long as he would cut the size of government, cut spending, and secure our borders.
The subject.
I don't care what he is.
So you're playing this game. You're playing this game. You are playing
I'm
this game.
I'm not playing any game. I don't know what he is. Only he can tell you what he is.
Well, he said he's a Christian.
Well, then he's a Christian then. That's fine. But, you know, one thing that you can't deny, and I heard you guys ridiculing those people on the Rasmussen poll there, but one thing is that President Obama certainly has a soft spot in his heart for Islam. You know, he's gone back. His first speech was in Egypt. He's reached out to the Muslims more so than any other president in the history of the world. He's even changed our history, saying that Islam has always played a major part in this country, when everyone knows that's not true. You didn't see our founding fathers weren't Muslim. They weren't breaking for prayers 5 times a day. But this is the type of thing that he's done, is reaching out, bowing to the leaders of Saudi Arabia.
Where are you on Islam?
The president, with all the vast nuclear experience that he acquired as a community organizer.
Bill, shut up, bitch!
And as a part-time senator.
Bill, shut up, bitch!
And as a full-time candidate, all that experience, still no accomplishment to date with North Korea and Iran.
Bill, shut up, bitch!
When Glenn Beck rants about the caliphate taking over the Middle East from Morocco to the Philippines and lists or invents the connections between caliphate promoters and the American left, he brings to mind no one so much as Robert Welch and the John Birch Society. He's marginalizing himself just as his predecessors did back in the early 60s.
People like Bill Kristol, I don't think they actually stand for anything anymore. All they stand for is power. You've confused conservative principles now with conservative progressive principles. And really, times have changed, Bill. Times have changed. It's time to see the world as it really is, and to see how these big government solutions and getting into bed with dictators is really something the left does, and not something that the right should do.
What is he talking about?
Well, it is completely confused, but basically what he's doing is setting out that there are power players, some of which he's identified as the U.S. left, but obscure people, Code Pink, the Tides Foundation, Acorn. What you have to understand for people who don't watch this show is that conspiracy theory has been a cornerstone of this show for months and months. This is a bizarre theory. There have been others on this show for months and months, and I think this one creates a real problem for Fox, because conservatives are finally starting to weigh in a serious way. It's not just Bill Kristol, Rich Lowry of the National Review, John Fund from the Wall Street Journal.
David says that he and others have been waiting to see conservatives turn on Glenn Beck. What's happening now is that he's putting himself on the wrong side of conservatives who are out there in favor of democracy in Egypt. And so he's creating this divide, and he has to...
Okay, just to straighten out, is he for or against the protesters?
He's against... Well, he says the protesters...
He says he's against dictators.
He says it's not about the protesters. He says it's not about the people, it's not about democracy, it's about this grand conspiracy
of the left.
Of the left. And
okay,
of the
you know where he gets these ideas? You never know where anybody gets ideas.
It's inexcusable and incomprehensible. We saw the tenacity of those clinging to life, praying for guidance. I listened at first puzzled. It is time to restore the American precept that each individual is accountable for his actions, not with those who proudly voted in the last election. The last election was all about taking responsibility for our country's future. Now, President Obama and I may not agree. You're free to propose better ideas. But journalists and pundits should not manufacture a blood libel that serves only to incite the very hatred and violence that they purport to condemn. But when was it less heated? Back in those calm days when political figures literally design a system that helps settle the inevitable conflicts. If you don't like a person's vision for the country, you're free to debate that vision. With dueling pistols.
Phil, shut up, bitch!
Last I checked, Sarah Palin's not much of an expert.
WTF? Phil, shut up, bitch!
He's not a Muslim. He's a good man. And let's knock his crap off and talk about the real differences we have. So I'm here to tell you that those who think the president was born somewhere other than Hawaii, you're crazy.
WTF? Phil, shut up, bitch!
You know, it's so interesting. This whole birther issue hasn't even been one that's ever been brought up to me by my constituents. They continually ask me, Larry, where are the jobs? That's a non-issue. In my district, it's a flat-out non-issue.
Phil, shut up, bitch!
But I want to point out something that is terrible hypocrisy about all of this. When George Bush was elected, there were many people who called him illegitimate and said that he lost Florida despite there being no evidence of that being the case.
I was one.
Hold on a second. Hold on, James.
Okay, I was one.
Hold on. Nobody blew the whistle and started to say, well, wait a minute, aren't these people on the left nutty? It always seemed that people said that George Bush was a divider, not a uniter, and they didn't talk about the tactics of the left being the problem. Now, when people on the right are making claims that are not supported, it's as if all the media referees now can't wait to blow their whistle and throw their flags and say the problem's on the right.
WTF? Phil, shut up, bitch!
Are you a Christian?
Yes, sir.
Should I take you at your word, or should I maybe suspect you're a Muslim? Do you have a Christian ID you can show me and prove to me you're a Christian?
I think God's going to ask you not to judge as I'm not judging President Obama's religion.
Do you have a Christian ID?
No one has a Christian ID.
Catholics get birth certificates, get baptismal certificates. In fact, there are some religions that do issue certificates of certain kinds. Do you have any? Now, do you think the kind of meeting that you had with your constituents helps clarify for them the president's religion, or helps confuse them to the point that 40% of a Republican focus group in your state is completely wrong about the president being a Muslim?
Well, I saw a poll in the Examiner today that showed 46% of Republicans believe that. So I would submit it's not a Republican problem. This is the president's problem.
Right. I said I don't know what he is, but he certainly does. And I think you would agree that he's got a soft spot in his heart for Islam. But even
I don't think he's anti-Islamic, and I wonder why you are. There's 1 billion Islamic people in the world. Are you against their religion? You telling them that right now on television? You don't like their religion?
No.
There's 1 billion of them?
No, all I'm saying is that I see what happens worldwide every week with the terrorist events, the beheadings, the stonings, all of these types of things. And we've had 226 indictments for terrorism in the United States, and all of them have been Muslim. So, yes, I have a right to be concerned about Islam, yes.
Okay, let me go to Matt Kibbe just to go around the corner here. Matt, do you think the president's a Muslim or might be?
I think he says he's a Christian, and I take him at his word.
WTF. Shut up, bitch!
And this is the thing that we're trying to get our arms around here inside the John Birch Society, is what is really happening in Tunisia and Egypt and Yemen and other places. It doesn't bode well for the future. Doesn't look good. Has all the signs of an upheaval to where, due to United States policies and the State Department, we're radicalizing all of Islam. This is not a good thing. Now, everybody will think, oh, it's the Quran, and everybody will think, oh, it's the Muslims. But no, it'll be Moscow and Beijing. And regrettably, ladies and gentlemen, Washington, D.C. The world communist apparatus, including the communist organizations in these countries, are very much involved in this process. But to the extent where they're actually parading with communist hammer and sickles on red flags, the whole 9 yards, but somehow or another CNN can't find these people. Fox can't find these people. And the other 5 networks that aren't very significant anymore in the way of news. But I find that strange that we get this one-sided idea that these people are Democrats out in the streets.
We've been waiting, at least at Media Matters, for a long time for somebody to stand up in the conservative movement and call this out in a serious way. And I think we're at a tipping point now. The thing will be whether other conservative movement leaders, what's Sarah Palin going to say, who's very close to Glenn Beck?
Yeah, well, mentally, let me ask you this. What I don't understand is why, when you have real dangers out there, we don't know what the new governor of Egypt's going to be. It's a tricky question. I keep saying to people, it's tricky. We got to figure it out. You don't accuse the old Bolsheviks from Moscow to be behind it, or the communists in China who are getting pretty capitalistic these days. Why would you do that, except it appeals to an older audience that was more familiar with those enemies and was more willing to believe enemies within than anything else?
What's interesting,
isn't that what it's about?
Yeah, this is the problem that Glenn Beck and Fox are going to run into. Glenn Beck has to...
Conflict of interest?
Well, no, that he's going to have to look at Fox and say, listen, Fox is not reporting what I'm telling you. When Bill O'Reilly...
Is Fox reporting what Glenn Beck is saying?
When Bill O'Reilly interviewed the president at the Super Bowl, did he ask about any of these global plans?
O'Reilly's difficult. He's a grudging guy, but he's not insane.
He's making Bill O'Reilly look like Walter Cronkite.
But then what happens for Glenn Beck is he has to look at O'Reilly and Fox and say, these guys are in on it too.
WTF.
WTF.
Phil, shut up, bitch!
I think this crisis kind of snuck up on him, and he's a little unprepared to respond to it.
Up on him. He doesn't know what to do. He never knows what to do.
I think he believes that America's at fault for the world's problems. I think he doesn't see the good that America does in the world.
Okay, I've got to hold you for 1 second. Sean, I want to emphasize that these are Republican caucus voters in Iowa.
Phil, shut up, bitch!